In 1942, the Battle of the Atlantic was reaching its deadliest point. German U-boats haunted the ocean, sinking Allied convoys without mercy. Communication cables, vital for coordination, were constantly damaged by salt, cold, and combat. Each time a line failed, lives and supplies were lost in silence. Behind the chaos, a handful of engineers worked day and night to maintain contact. Among them was Eleanor Hart, a young British engineer stationed in Liverpool. At just 27, she was one of the few women trusted with high-level naval wiring systems. She had earned her place through grit, brilliance, and defiance of expectations. Her mission wasn't on the front lines, but in the nerve system of the war. Every cable she fixed was a lifeline between command and survival. And one night, she would make a decision that changed everything, a decision that would save hundreds of ships from silent death. Eleanor had grown up tinkering with broken radios in her father's shed. When war came, she joined the Women's Royal Naval Service, quickly proving her genius. While others were assigned to clerical work, Ellie was given soldering irons and circuit diagrams. Her calm hands and sharp eyes caught errors seasoned men missed. By 1942, her name was quietly known across the Royal Navy's engineering corps, but fame was not allowed. Her reports were signed under male supervisors' names. Still, she didn't mind. Her purpose was clear. Each working line meant ships got home, sailors lived, and the Atlantic fought back. The real war, she thought, was in the silence between signals. When the hum stopped, she felt it like a heartbeat lost, and in those moments, she swore to never let the silence win. That vow would soon be tested beyond anything she imagined. It was a freezing night in December 1942. Rain lashed against the coastal base. The wind howled like sirens. Suddenly, a red alarm light flashed in the calm's center. A transatlantic cable had gone dead, cut off mid-convoy transmission. 500 Allied ships, carrying supplies and troops, were now without guidance. Panic rippled through the operators as voices vanished into static. The line in question ran beneath the Irish Sea, a crucial link to command. No one knew whether it was sabotage, damage, or system failure. Ellie, drenched from rushing in, examined the blueprints under candlelight. Her eyes darted between frequency charts and relay boards. Somewhere in the miles of wiring, one small flaw was killing the signal, and she had only hours to find it before the convoy entered U-boat territory. The relay room was a labyrinth of humming machines and flickering gauges. Technicians had already torn apart half the wiring racks with no success. Each passing minute meant another ship, potentially drifting blind at sea. Ellie pushed past the chaos, inspecting solder joints and voltage readings. Her fingers traced the lines on the panel like reading Braille. Then she noticed something strange, a relay coil glowing faintly out of sync. It was microscopic, nearly invisible, but her trained eyes caught it. The insulation had degraded from humidity, causing a feedback loop. That loop was blocking the transoceanic signal entirely. The solution seemed simple: reroute the current manually. But that meant cutting through an active, high-voltage relay by hand. One wrong move, and the entire system could blow. As Ellie prepared her tools, a superior officer entered, drenched and furious. "Stand down, Hart. We'll wait for command approval," he barked. She froze, torn between protocol and urgency. The line was critical. Every minute meant ships without coordination. She explained the problem, her voice steady but urgent. The officer shook his head, unwilling to risk an explosion in the main relay. He left, slamming the door, leaving Ellie in the flickering light. She stared at the cables, the silence deafening in her mind. She saw the ship's convoys sailing in darkness, unaware of danger. She clenched her fists, her decision already made. "Approval can wait," she whispered. Then she reached for her soldering iron. Ellie took a deep breath, her hands steady despite the risk. She disconnected the failing coil and began rewiring manually. Sparks flashed as metal met current, the air thick with ozone. One misstep could electrocute her or destroy the entire communication grid. Her eyes never blinked, guided only by instinct and knowledge. The hum of the machines wavered, then roared back to life. For a moment, The relay lights flickered red, then green. Ellie exhaled slowly. She had done it. The signal returned, strong and steady across the Atlantic. Operators began shouting with joy as voices crackled back on the radio. Convoy ships confirmed. Receipt of navigation and defense updates. One repaired line had restored life to the ocean. Hours later, reports came flooding in. The restored signal had reached the convoy just in time. U-boat ambushes were avoided. Rerouting saved hundreds of lives. The commander of the fleet sent a coded message of thanks. None of them knew who had fixed the line. They just called her the Ghost. Inside the base, Ellie sat quietly, her gloves burnt and hands trembling. She didn't boast, didn't seek credit. To her, the real victory was the sound of working radios again. That night, she walked home through bombed streets, unnoticed, her uniform soaked, her eyes heavy but proud. Liverpool slept, unaware that one woman's defiance had saved their sons, and Ellie never told a soul what she'd done. The following morning, an inquiry was launched. The system logs showed an unauthorized repair during restricted hours. Technicians confirmed the relay had been dangerously altered, yet perfectly stabilized. The officer who ordered her to stand down was furious, demanding punishment. But when higher command learned the repair had saved 500 ships, the tone changed. A secret memo was written, unauthorized but essential action taken by Engineer Hart. Her name was to remain classified for operational security. Ellie received no medal, no mention, only a quiet transfer to another post. She accepted it, though deep down, the silence stung. Still, she knew recognition wasn't the reason she served. Her satisfaction was in knowing that lives had been saved. Sometimes the greatest heroes never make the headlines. Over time, stories began circulating among the signal corps. Someone had risked everything to keep the Atlantic alive that night. Men whispered about the line fixer, a phantom engineer who worked miracles. New recruits were told the tale during training as a lesson in dedication. None knew her real name, only that she had done the impossible. Ellie continued her work quietly, assigned to field communication upgrades. She refused promotion, preferring to remain close to the machines she trusted. Her teammates respected her skill, but never guessed her secret. Sometimes, she smiled when the story was told around her. No one realized the ghost they spoke of was sitting among them. It was her private victory, one she carried silently. In war, sometimes anonymity was the highest honor. Years of constant pressure took their toll on Ellie's health. The strain of night shifts, static exposure, and secrecy wore her down. By 1944, she was reassigned to training roles. Teaching young recruits, she spoke little of her past missions, focusing only on precision and safety. Her lessons were strict, but fair. She demanded excellence. Every student left understanding the value of a single wire. In her mind, she relived that freezing night often. Each time the relay had clicked back to life, it echoed forever. Though the world forgot her act, she remembered every ship number saved. Ellie never married, dedicating her life to engineering innovation. When the war ended, she faded into quiet civilian life, but her legacy was wired deep into history's circuits. Decades later, in 1989, a naval historian uncovered a forgotten report. It detailed an unnamed female engineer's unsanctioned repair during wartime blackout. Cross-referencing names and transfers, he found Hart scribbled in a margin. He began tracing her life, piecing together fragments of her service. By then, Eleanor Hart had long passed away in obscurity. Her family had kept her medals and uniform in an attic trunk. When told of her hidden heroism, they were stunned. For them, she had simply been Aunt Ellie, quiet and brilliant. The historian wrote an article titled "The Woman Who Saved the Atlantic Line." It was published in a small British military journal. At last, her story began to surface from the depths, and the world began to remember. In 1992, 50 years after her act of defiance, the Royal Navy posthumously honored her. They unveiled a plaque at the old Liverpool base where she had worked. It read, "In memory of Engineer Eleanor Hart, whose courage and skill saved lives unseen." Veterans attended, many remembering the night their radios came alive. Some wept, realizing the ghost had been real all along. For them, the plaque wasn't just metal, it was connection restored. New generations of naval engineers learned her story in training. Her photo was placed in the signal school hall beside the words, "Precision saves lives." Though her voice had been silenced by time, her legacy now spoke clearly. The one line she fixed had become a symbol of dedication, a reminder that even small acts can echo across oceans. Eleanor Hart had finally come home. Modern naval communication systems still trace their principles back to her work. Her methods of redundancy and manual bypass became standard safety practices. Engineers today study her improvisation. As an example of crisis innovation, her story inspires countless women to pursue science and engineering in museums. Her tools and notebooks are preserved behind glass, each page filled with delicate calculations and quiet brilliance. Her handwriting, though faded, still tells of sleepless nights and steady courage. She once wrote, "Every signal is a heartbeat. Keep it alive." Those words now hang engraved at the Royal Navy's Signal Command, for a woman once erased from reports. Her presence now endures in steel and code. The one line she fixed became the pulse of history. Her silence turned into everlasting signal. Every year, the Royal Navy honors fallen engineers lost to the sea. Amidst the list, one name always draws quiet respect: Eleanor Hart. At dawn, ships across the Atlantic pause their transmissions. For 1 minute, a symbolic silence, honoring the woman who fought against it. Waves lap against the hulls as radios hum back to life. It's said that in those moments, sailors whisper her name like a prayer. Technology may evolve, but gratitude never fades. Somewhere in the static, her spirit still watches over the lines. She had believed that connection was life itself and proved it true. In that one act, she bridged not just circuits, but hearts. History remembers generals for their wars, engineers for their salvation, and Eleanor Hart remains the quiet guardian of the Atlantic. The story of Eleanor Hart isn't about fame, it's about purpose. In a world tearing itself apart, she chose to mend it wire by wire. Her courage didn't roar through battlefields. It hummed through circuits. Every spark from her soldering iron was an act of resistance. She proved that heroes can exist in silence, unseen but essential. The war ended, but her lesson remains timeless. Even today, in a world wired together, her message echoes: never underestimate the power of one line, one mind, one moment. Because sometimes, saving the world means simply keeping the signal alive. And though her voice is gone, her frequency still hums in history's current. From silence, she gave the ocean life again, and the world still listens.